Hello, my name is Guban Sofanwi Chikong, and this is my informative speech for communications. Everything in this life has its goods, bads, and uglies, and social media just turns out to be one of those things. In our modern day and age, social media has been incorporated into our lives in more ways than we can imagine. Social media has brought about many changes to the way we lead our lives, the way we relate with other people, and the way we view ourselves and our lives. According to Krishna Giri, while it, referring to social media, has brought many positive changes, such as the democratization of information and increased connectivity, it has also had negative effects, such as the spread of misinformation and the amplification of hate speech. Prior to delivering this speech, I've carried out extensive research, and I will also be incorporating my personal experiences and those of people around me. I'll be focusing on how social media affects our lives, relationships, and the way we function through looking at its positive impacts, negative impacts, and how social media affects our privacy and how all of this affects our lives overall. We will begin with the positive. When we take time to look at the growth of social media over the past 2 decades, we can see the positive changes very clearly. Over the past 2 decades, social media has grown drastically. Between the years of 2006 and 2018, we can see the growth between around 5% to around 88%. One of the positive changes which I'll be starting off with is the positive impact on awareness. Through social media, many movements such as the Black Lives Matter movement and the Me Too movement have been pushed. In 2020, we saw the pushing of the Black Lives Matter movement to shed light on the injustices faced by Black people and police brutality, as well as the Me Too movement to shed light on the sexual abuse faced by many women all around the world. The next impact is the impact on e-commerce. Many businesses use social media as a form of marketing. If you scroll on Instagram, for example, you will see probably for more than 5 minutes, you will see probably an advertisement for Dave's Hot Chicken or for Subway, or for Shein, or for Marshalls, or for any other company, which can be brought about by social media, which is a positive impact. The next one would be on mental health. Through social media, many people have started to feel not so alone, as we saw in the year of 2020 during the Corona quarantine. Many people felt very alone in this period of collective secludedness, and through social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram, they saw that other people were experiencing the same emotions that they were, and they felt not so alone. The next one, and one of the most major ones, is the impact on communication. Over the years, we have seen the shift of mass communication between newspapers and television programs to social media. According to Krishna Giri, in the past, people relied on traditional media channels such as newspapers and television to stay informed. Today, social media has become a primary source of news and information for many people. I myself receive alerts from Apple News and from the Washington Post and from many other news platforms through social media and through my mobile phone. I'll now be taking a second look at social media from a more antagonistic perspective, which would be the negative effects. As many positive effects, there are negative effects. With the rapid growth of social media over the past 20 years, small, ignored shortcomings have over time developed into larger problems. Mental health has been one of the biggest negative impacts, has had one of the biggest negative impacts of social media. Through social media, there are problems such as cyberbullying and hate speech have been pushed. In social media, there's a term which is referred to as an account without a face. Many people create accounts, fake accounts, with fake personalities, and they use this to spread very nasty words to other people and encourage people to inflict harm on themselves. Through social media, there is as well the pushing of overconsumption and hyper-consumerism through brand sponsorships by influencers, which leads people to lead what is referred to in my country as a fake life, to buy products which they might never need or might never use or might not even be able to afford, and continuously go through this cycle, and this is pushed by social media. which leads them to live a life which they cannot afford. And social media as well, one of the negative impacts is impacts on relationships and on society. Through social media, there's more isolation because people do not feel the need to step outside of their house because they feel that they can experience everything through their mobile phones and through social media platforms, which is not true, which leads to a more individualistic society and toxic relationships between people, which in reality we need our communities to grow and to thrive. In social media, there's also, which is very bad, the exposure of explicit content to users. In social media, in previous years, we did not really see many age limits, but there are now. But there is still the exposure of explicit content, and on these social media apps, there are many children. One of the biggest effects is this effect of social media on public health. Through social media, there is the coin term, which is the continuous scroll. Through apps like TikTok and Instagram Reels, we see a continuous scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and you scroll for ages and you never reach the bottom, which can go on for hours and hours, and which discourages physical activity. And there's also the spread of misinformation about health practices which are pushed by the government and the FDA. According to Christina Freitag, this occurred in 2020, public health efforts around mask mandates and vaccine rollouts have now become an increasingly polarized issue. Social media platforms have turned into breeding grounds for spreading misinformation around vaccines, and as a result has contributed to vaccine hesitancy among the American people. Through social media as well, there is I'm not going to say that. Finally, I'll be moving to how social media impacts our privacy and how that affects our lives. Over the years, there have been many lawsuits against different social media platforms due to their invasion of users' privacy and their violation of rights. Instagram uses location services as well as Snapchat and device identifiers, and they use our data. And one of the biggest ones is Facebook. According to this graph, we can see how many Americans do not trust the federal government or social media sites to protect their data, which has become a very big problem. Social media sites such as Facebook sell our data to third-party sources for targeted ads. If you have ever noticed, when you maybe search up something on Facebook, you go to YouTube and you would see an advertisement about something that you just searched up on Facebook. That is because of the selling of our data. According to Wharton professor Pinar Vildren, Facebook has its critics, and they are mainly concerned about two things: mishandling consumer data and poorly managing access to it by third-party providers, and the level of disinformation spreading on Facebook. Through Facebook and other social media platforms, there's also the exposure to scammers who take our data and use it for bad purposes and use it against us. In conclusion, we have examined social media from both aspects, and now it is left for us users to decide how we will be using it. We have noticed how it positively and negatively affects our mental health, relationships, society, and communication. We as users have the choice as to how we will use social media, either to help build ourselves and others up, or to tear down and use it for all the wrong reasons. I'll end with this quote: social media is not a media. The key is to listen, engage, and build relationships. David Alston. Thank you.